Hey astronauts, and welcome back to Astro-Tarot Research. And if it's your first time here, hi, I'm Brandy and welcome. So I am a astrology researcher and tarot reader, and I have a practical approach when it comes to reading astrology based upon my 15 years of experience, as well as reading tarot cards. And what that means is I like to use real world insights to guide you through the insights and predictions as we discover them. So I do want to give a disclaimer to say, number one, astrology, tarot, they are for entertainment purposes only. You have free will to do what you choose. And number two, I do want to say that if you are in a sensitive place in your life, or if you're looking for validation or maybe a pick-me-up, I may not be the reader for you. I believe I need to stay within my truth and read what I see. So if you're okay with that, then let's continue to the reading, guys. And this week's reading is what is coming next in your career. So I thought that this would be an interesting reading, a little bit of a switch up when it came to the readings. We've been doing so much love stuff, and I figure, we want to know what's going to happen next in our careers. So this is what we're going to have here. In this reading, we are going to see what's unfolding for us in terms of success or recognition. Are any jobs going to offer promotion? Are you going to, if you have your own business, expand it or have more clientele or even more infrastructure? Is there any workplace drama coming up? Does the workload increase? We're going to get into all of that. But first, I do want to remind you to like, comment, and to subscribe. And if you would like a private reading by me and you would like to dive deeper into insights and use numerology, astrology, tarot, as well as plenty of research, tons and tons of research, when it comes to results and predictions, then you should 100% get a reading by me. I like to be very thorough and detailed. That is some feedback that I have received when it comes to private readings. So if you would like to be part of that, limited spot for the week, because I do have limited spots for the week, then feel free to book that private reading. You can go through my booking form or the Etsy shop. Either option is available to you. Also, if you would like to be a member and get access to exclusive content when it comes to what's coming next month or next year, or even just things along the lines of, random reading ideas that I might do and test out on the members, then go ahead and join that membership. Also, members get a free live reading with me once a month, meaning they can ask me a question during the live session. You can sit in advance, or you can just pop up during the live and ask the question. And you know what? That offer may not stand still for forever, but currently, as I'm recording this right now, that is the case. So now that we've gone through every possible scenario here, let's get into these pals. We have pal number 1. We have pal number 2. We have pal number 3. We have pal number 4 and pal number 5. So let's not waste any more time and just sit back, relax, and choose. Hey pal, number 1, let's get into what is next in your career. What's unfolding? We have protection. Ooh. We have the Fool. We have the 7 of Gems, achievement. We have the 6 of Wands, victory. All right, okay. We have the 7 of Cups. And we have the 7 of Pentacles again. Wow. I absolutely love the fact that we've gotten the 7 of Pentacles twice. And since we're already here on the fact that we have the 7 of Pentacles, let's talk about it here. So when we're talking about what's next in your career, we know that the 7 of Pentacles represents a moment of contemplation, a moment of thought, as well as a moment of achievement, right? The person on the 7 of Pentacles, they've put a lot of effort and time and energy into making sure that their crop or harvest grows, that it blossoms, that it is fruitful, that it's bountiful. And they've achieved it. You know, they've achieved it. And now it's a matter of what to do next. What to do next? Where do I go? What steps should I take? So it's kind of interesting that the next steps in your career is deciding basically direction that you will go in. And also, I want to acknowledge the fact that you have achieved something. I don't know what's going on with your life right now, but the cards are making it pretty clear that you are in a stage in your life where you have something to be proud of, that you have something to, what's the word? To pat yourself on the back for. Whether that is you recently got a promotion, or you recently passed some sort of certification, or you recently graduated, or you recently got some type of role or job or opportunity at work. Whatever the case may be, this just represents that you have something that you have achieved, and that now you are growing and developing even more. And the cards are saying, great job. So I just want to acknowledge that and say that. But yes, this next stage in your life is about figuring out the next steps and how you want to invest and where you want to grow in the future. How do you want to pursue your path? And that's generally, I'll say this, it can have to do with a career change. You could be waiting to figure out where it is that you want to live, and based on that, you decide your job prospects. And then it could be something along the lines of, all right, well, maybe I want to expand my business, or maybe I want to start a business, or maybe I want to grow clientele, or maybe I want to go in a different direction when it comes to how I advertise myself if you have your own business, or heck, even if you're advertising yourself to an employer, maybe you want to change the way that you do that. But whatever the case is, you are refining what you have. You've already put in the work. Like, this is not starting phase. You are making new starts, you are making new strides, but you're not starting from scratch here. You've got plenty of experience. You've got a lot of a strong performance. You have the results to back it. You've got maybe the education or the experience or whatever the case may be. But with the Seven of Pentacles, it shows proven results. It's like, I've shown you what I can do, and it works. So I just want to say that. I really do think that this period in your life is all about taking a moment to pause. Taking a moment to, how do I say this? You're not rushing into the next role. You're not rushing into the next opportunity. You're being strategic about planning. When I see the Seven of Pentacles, I'm like, oh, this is the type of person who have a 5-year plan. And they would have a step-by-step to get to it. And they would have a strategy in place. If they say, oh, I want to become a baker, they're not just doe-eyed and dreaming like the Seven of Cups can be. They actually have something that they can put into action. They're like, okay, well, I'm going to go to culinary school. Which culinary school should I go to? I want to go to this one. What does it take to get into that school? How much does it cost? Like, they look into all of these factors and details, and that's the place that you are in your life. You are coming up with a plan, and then you are slowly enacting it step by step, because that is what the Seven of Pentacles is all about. It's also showing, like I said, any projects that you previously worked on or are currently working on, or any sort of, plan that you currently have in place, that it's going to be successful. We have the the Six of Lightning, which is basically the Six of Wands. So you go from this place of like, I've planned something, I'm working on something, I'm putting into action, I achieve it. Then you think about all the other things that you can possibly do next, and you start planning for your next move. So you're kind of in this cycle of just like achieve, plan, you know, achieve, plan, look at options, achieve, plan, like look at more options, achieve, and you keep going through this cycle. And it's like you're just collecting trophies and victories. So I do want you to know that. Also, you know, the Seven of Pentacles, just the last thing I want to say about it right now, is a moment where you are considering, do you want to continue investing in a certain route? For example, let's say you work in healthcare and you have done so for the past 10 years. The Seven of Pentacles would say, do I still want to continue to work in healthcare? Or maybe I want to pivot into education or finance or, you know, some other field. You know, that's kind of what I see when I look at this. So even if you don't change your role, you could change your industry, right? You could go from, hey, I used to teach, I don't know, I used to teach second grade, and now I am teaching art class at my local community center, right? And I get, I don't know, I start a program there and I get paid through that. So you're still teaching, but you're doing it in a different way, in a different industry, in a different avenue, right? So it can be something like that. That's all I want to say. And you might be considering that. Like, how can I apply my skills to other areas? Now, protection. My first thought when I saw protection, and let me get a look at this. This is like a crystal here. And it's actually interesting. It's like a necklace, and it's in a jar, and it's a crystal. And also there seems to be a book next to it. Let me look at that. I can't read the words on it, guys. It says something for protection. Protection magic. Okay. So my first thought was, you're definitely manifesting, making sure that you are not led astray. Okay. So when I look at these cards here, for me, I feel like you have taken the time to align yourself with some sort of spirit, higher power, to say, hey, please show me the way. And the cards are kind of saying, it's like a confirmation here. It's a confirmation that, yes, whatever it is that you have been calling for, that you have been asking for, that you have been requesting in terms of alignment, in terms of discernment, in terms of ensuring that you're on the right path. This is like the nod to spirit saying, we're doing that. We're making sure that you stay protected. And it also reminds me of that saying that's very popular. Rejection is protection, right? And so you might even be going through a period for some of you, and this is for those who might be applying for things or trying different aspects. For example, let's say you're applying for a job and you get rejected from like 10 jobs or something like that. In this economy, that's not that bad. There's people get rejected from hundreds or thousands. But let's say you get rejected from 10 jobs, you're disappointed, and you're like, dang, like I just got rejected from those 10 jobs. Well, rejection is protection. Spirit is saying, I'm not going to push you down, or I'm going to ensure you aren't led down any paths that are just not right for you. I want to make sure that you are in alignment with your true spiritual calling and your goals and what makes sense for you. And then sometimes, you know, if we're being a little less literal, protection could be, you know, something to do with your own personal alignment. For example, the other day I created a vision board. And so protection in this aspect is ensuring that I protect myself by aligning with my own vision that I have for my life and my future. And I don't think that's too off here. I think you yourself seem to be a very strategic and smart and thoughtful person. And I think that your own intellect plays a part within this. It's not just spirit, right? You have to be the one to go out to purchase the gem or purchase the books when it comes to protection magic, you know, or things like that, and ensure that you are informed about how you can best protect yourself when it comes to your career. And this can also be within the job environment. If you have people that you're beefing with, or maybe even the job itself is a little toxic, the cards are saying they are likely about to take you out of that situation and you're going to transition to a new path. Those people who are sending you the evil eye, who might be envious, who might be toxic, who have bad intentions, and you know, they don't care for goodwill, or they aren't the most ethical people, they are going to, one without a doubt, reap what they sow. But then at the same time, because we have this protection energy here, those people are not going to be able to harm you or continue to harm you. It's showing that this environment that you're in, if you're in a dramatic environment, a toxic environment, a hurtful environment, the cards are saying, we're pulling you out of that. That is what protection is. And then we're going to guide you to a path that makes a lot more sense. Hence why we're going to the Fool card here. And I really like that for you, because when we get to the Fool card, there's this easy breezy energy. So when we're like, oh, what's happening next in the career? We're getting out of places where we might need to have that protection gem, or say prayers, or ask for guidance and discernment, and coming out of this place of struggle or whatever. For some people, you know, just saying for some people. And we're going to a place where it's more carefree. It's fun. You're taking chances. You're taking risks. You're being bold. And it's going to pay off. Okay? I just want you to know it will pay off. Let me do something for you astronauts. You know, I want to pull the Astro dice and let's see how things go. All right. We have the 8th house, Sagittarius, and the moon. Transition period, without a doubt. When I see this also, I like seeing the 7 of Pentacles twice, because the 7 of Pentacles as finances, and then the fact that we have the moon in the 8th house, that means your mind goes into investments. It goes into any place where you would get potentially shared resources. And what that can look like is if you go into businesses with someone and you sign a contract and you both benefit from that, that's also something that you could see as a shared resource. Sometimes it's things like settlements. Sometimes it's things like, what's the word? Having offers or perks within a job. And that can represent you getting a new role. They say, hey, you want some company stock? We have a great healthcare plan. You can get 4 weeks vacation. Like, this is the type of stuff that might be like, okay, we're investing time, energy, and effort into you. It's a mutual investment. It's sharing resources, etc. Right? That's going to happen here when we have the 7 of Pentacles with this moon in the 8th house in Sagittarius. And then also when the moon is in Sagittarius, there's an element of travel here. So I'm glad that we're getting this confirmation when it comes to your career and it comes to travel. Because sometimes the Fool is just a new beginning and it's just representing taking a risk and taking a chance. But since we have that moon in Sagittarius, this is showing that there is some sort of traveling when it comes to work, when it comes to exploring new options, when it comes to going out there and possibly even working in a foreign country, possibly working with co-workers who are overseas. How do I say this? Providing good insurance for the most part, especially since we have the moon in the 8th house. Moon in the 8th house is like, oh, I have good health care, possibly through my job. Not all the time, but that is one of the representations of it. And also what we get here is that it's possible money that is connected to legal HR administrative processes that, you know, it may take some time to negotiate, but ultimately this is a contract that would be beneficial for you. And I say HR processes because we have that Sagittarius energy that generally connects to administrative and HR, etc. You know, and signing contracts. So this would be like, oh, you're probably signing a beneficial contract, and that is coming in when we're talking about money and having that strategic capital through work. So we know we're starting off new. We know what's next in your career. You're being protected from toxic energy. You're starting off, you're going into more than likely a new environment. You are taking some big, bold risk and chance. You're going off and you're traveling somewhere, or, you know, you're working with foreign teams, or you're just doing that big switcheroo career move that's going on here. We have you being someone who you're definitely going to receive recognition. I mean, the Six of Lightning, victory. It's more so like when we see the Six of Lightning, here, it's kind of like the next phase in your career is like you achieving something that you've wanted, that you've longed for, that you really invested your time and energy into. I was just looking at the Fool card the other day, and the Fool card has this element of independence to it. And I was thinking about it because I was doing the video on Rahu and Sestabisha. And Sestabisha is an nakshatra placement that happens in the sign of Aquarius. In Western astrology, Aquarius is ruled by Uranus. And that connects to the Fool card here. And so this all has very similar vibes. One thing that I saw when I was doing my research with Sestabisha is that there was this leaning towards relying less and less on traditional systems and more so being the architect of your own life in a way. And so when we look at the fact that you are going in this new direction and you are being pulled away from spaces that aren't beneficial towards you, to me it represents an element of independence here. Meaning, I start my own company. I run my own business. I am a contract employee. I'm a freelancer. Like, and if it's not any of those things and it's like just a normal 9 to 5, then the Fool card would indicate some sort of flexibility. There's something about the work environment that is non-traditional. I do want to acknowledge that. There's no way I'll see the Fool card to represent same old, same old. You know, it's just not possible like here. So we know something revolutionary is happening there that's a little bit different than how maybe your friends might have their jobs, or how you've done things in the past. This is all about non-traditional elements, unconventional roles, remote work, project-based structures, you know, having more freedom in how you operate. There's less dependence on someone else and more so you doing your own thing. And so this is earned freedom from what I've seen here. Especially since we're going to this Seven of Pentacles, Seven of Gems. This Seven of Pentacles is happening twice, guys. And it's nestled in between, you know, victory and having options available to you, you know. And I really do like this. I love this, especially when I think about the Seven of Cups, because the Seven of Cups is, it talks more about like emotional connection to the things that you want to do. You know, it's not just options that are stagnant or boring, because like sometimes you get something like the Four of Cups, right? The Four of Cups is like, oh, I have an option in front of me, but I'm not interested in it, right? The Seven of Cups is like, I've got a lot of options that I'm potentially having a lot of interest in. And so you have a lot of ideas unfolding, spiraling about, like really stimulating you. And you really have to sit down and concentrate on what you want to continue an investment. But I really do feel like anything you touch will turn to gold because you've got the Midas touch here. I think also when we talk about what new roles, is there more money coming in? Is there more financial stability? I'll say this. The Seven of Pentacles is more so like you're not doing bad financially, right? It's coming from the place of Six of Pentacles, which is like, okay, I have more than enough to give, right? And then the Seven of Pentacles is like, I invested that money, I continue to grow it, and I make a decent pay, right? So now you even have even more than that Six of Pentacles person who could just give out their money, right? And now you're growing money. You have a big money pile. So what I want to say is, yes, you're gaining more money, but it's not just you gaining more money. It's what you decide to do with it strategically that is making this so beneficial for you. The way that you are investing your time, your energy, and your resources based upon your work that you do is causing you to grow that money even more and even at a faster rate. I'm not saying it's like Speedy Gonzalez fast, but it is a lot faster than what you would do. And I really do think that you're already past this survival period. So if you're in your mind and you're thinking, because this is scary, guys, and I mean scary in a good way. This is scary because you're doing something new. And when you do something new, you get the butterflies in your stomach and you're like, I don't know what's going to happen. I'm a little anxious. There's part of me that's really excited. Da, da, da. But we want to acknowledge that you're past the struggle stage. So even if you get this feeling of nervousness and will you fail, will you fly, right? You're going to fly. Get out of your mind that you're in this place of struggle. Get out of your mind that you're in survival mode, that things are tough or rough. And even if you are in this transition period, which you probably are, Moon in the 8th house here, in your mind, you have a lot to offer. And people will recognize this. We have the Six of Wands. On the original Six of Wands, you have someone being celebrated by a crowd. People will recognize that you are good at what you do. You have a lot to offer. And they're like, yeah, we might want you to work for us. Or we want to work with you, or whatever the case may be. Even if things are slow for a little bit, because the Seven Pentacles are slow. Gems are slow. They're slow. But people recognize you have a lot to offer. So I just want to say, it's what you do with your money, what you do with your time, what you do with your energy, what you do with your skill set that is causing you to make so much progress when it comes to you financially. That is what I want to say. If you're working a typical 9 to 5, you manage to negotiate the contract and maybe you invest that money in your 401k and you pick the right stocks and it grows, right? Or maybe you manage to make some connections through work and then through that you have your side business. Like, for example, some type people are just like, oh yeah, I make t-shirts, da 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 da. And they're talking to coworkers and they're just like, oh wait, you make t-shirts? Can you make a t-shirt for me? Da da da. And they do business at work through their coworkers and they're taking them, basically, they're creating clients through that working environment, right? And there can be something like that. This is what I mean by moving strategically once you get the position. And that's just one example. I gave the two examples of the taking the money, investing, and then you're at work and you're talking about your side business and someone hires you for something and you're like, oh, cool. Overall, pile number 1, because we need to wrap this up, because I will go on forever. I can go on forever about these 6 cards and everything. You are being removed from an environment that's toxic and you're having a reset. You are growing greater in independence and having more flexibility and moving away from less traditional structures. You're being repositioned. You will receive plenty of success and recognition for your work, compliments, public acknowledgement. People are looking at you like you're the prize here. And you're acknowledged for what you bring to the table. We have you creating steady financial growth. You've got the formula for success. I mean, the fact that we've got it twice, that means you hit that achievement, then you're like, well, hell, I could do it again. And you do it again. Your money improves through strategic decision making, whether that is reinvestment, whether that is you going into some sort of side business, whether that is you essentially being strategic about how you market your skills. It's all about your own strategy that you're applying, okay? Second thing is you're out of survival mode. If you're in this space where you're nervous that you're starting something new, don't be nervous. You're not back at that 5 of Pentacles. That's not happening here. You know, you're out of that stage. I want to be clear. You are out of that stage. So this is strong negotiation of resources, money, contracts, beneficial partnerships. Literally, Sagittarius is like the big HR sign. And so your mind goes into how can I negotiate these contracts, etc. And having someone invest in things long term. And I think the plan is to have someone invest in you long term, because getting the Seven of Pentacles right. Seven of Pentacles is somebody who invests in themselves, right? Which is you. You've invested in yourself. But their goal is to have someone else invest in them. You know, they don't want to keep fronting the load. And I do think that's part of your next plan and your next steps and the way that you're going. Because you guys, you want to move forward from what I'm seeing here. Sevens often also represent thought and studying. And so I definitely think that you're building knowledge and gaining more in that direction and expanding. So you're learning more about the work career and also gaining even more skills. So you're MacGyver here, you know, you got a lot going on. Swiss Army knife in terms of your career. This is a lot going on here. And I don't want you to be scared, because the next steps are so beautiful and how they're unfolding. And even if you feel like your options are limited, it's not bad, because wherever you put your energy and time into, people are going to see value in what you do. So I want you to know that. But that's what's happening next in your career. This is a great pile. I love that you guys are having so much greatness going on. Any workplace drama is coming to an end. And I think I was going into Seven of Cups earlier, how these are options that you want. These are things that you desire. And I don't know what else I can say. I'm going to end it there. It's been long. I didn't mean to make these long. But, you know, I get off on a tangent. So, I'll see you next time, pile number 1. And don't forget to get a private reading from me. Link can be found in the description bar below. And I'll see you next time. Au revoir. Hey, pal number 2. Let's get into what is coming next in your career. We have community. Death. Take the leap, the Fool. Then we have Master of Clouds. So that's the, excuse me, King of Swords. We have the Six of Wands reversed. And then we have the Page of Pentacles. I wonder why I wanted to come out reverse. Because you know I have a specific way of reading cards, guys. But sometimes the universe will just say, this needs to be reversed. So if we look at the cards here, we get into what is coming next in your career. We understand that community plays a big aspect in this. And when I think about community and what is coming next in your career, I think about, like, what are the connections? Like, who exactly are you meeting? Who are you networking with? You know what I mean? Community plays a big part in the next steps forward in your career path. Meaning you are expanding, you are gaining a different network. And I say gaining a different network because it's followed by this Death card here. And then the Fool. Both of these cards have to do with endings and beginnings. And so with this endings and beginning flavor, following the community card in the context of your career is saying, okay, maybe you are losing a network, a career network, whatever you call it, a work network, and you're gaining another one. And you're doing so by being proactive, taking some risks, taking some chances. There are many ways that you can do this, right? You can go through friends, see who they know, and then somehow you make a connection and you end up networking. You can end up going to some certain event, start talking to people, they know people, all of a sudden, boom, Now you're in contact with someone who can give you your next new role. This is what I think I see here. And I believe that another portion of you, because this is talking about community, is that some of you will actually be in roles or looking to step into roles that have a more community feel to it. So this could be something along the lines of a nonprofit or some sort of social, what's the word I'm calling? Social worker type of feel to it. It's just saying, hey, I'm doing something that benefits the community. Even if it's construction, right? If you're building homes or even if you're building commercial real estate, that's something within the community. And you don't have to be the actual construction worker yourself. You could be a project manager. You could be an architect, whatever the case may be, an engineer. If you're working within that space where you are directly affecting the community around you, that's something that would relate to this. So I do want you to know that. It's actually interesting that we see this death card here, because I see so many people interpret the death card like it's this sudden transformation change. And yeah, it can be that if it's next to the Fool. But generally I see the death card to be this slow transition and fade. It represents stepping back from old collaborators, old platforms, old identity markers that you used to have when it comes to your work or your title or how you perceive yourself or even the goals that you have for yourself. You know, to me, you're definitely exiting a different career ecosystem. I don't know how I can emphasize that more. The ecosystem that you were in previously when it comes to your work environment, you're moving away from it. And that can look like, okay, I am going from the tech sphere to maybe another industry having to do with entertainment. You know, like, this is what I mean by the ecosystem changes. And I feel like I've given a few examples there of what that looks like. Now, I will say this, because we have the Six of Wands reverse and we have this Page of Pentacles, this can sometimes look like a step down in status, you know, but it's not necessarily something that's bad. I mean, I hate to use labels of bad and good. It's just really just how life flows, you know, the ebb and flows of life. But I say it can be a loss of status because sometimes the Six of Wands reverse, and this is not me being Miss Debbie Downer. This is me talking about how it works out sometimes. Is either one, it's going to be you win in a way you didn't expect to win. You're just like, okay, I wasn't shooting for that, but you know, heck, this job is pretty good. It's got good benefits. Not exactly the industry I was looking to be in, but here I am, right? But then on the other hand, this can represent, like I was saying before, a step down in a role. Because it's like, all right, I used to be in this big winner position, but now it feels as though I'm a little bit more of the crowd. Like I'm not the person people are looking at to say, wow, they are the basically image or the pinnacle of success. You know what I mean? People look at me and say, wow, you have a crazy job, crazy amazing job. You have status, you have power, you have this, you have that, da, da, da. But the Six of Wands reverse is like, okay, you know, you got a decent job here, you know, but it's not that celebratory feel to it. So that's kind of what I want to say. And that could be part of the next journey. Sometimes we have to go through this process where we take a step back to get to our next place. And that happens all the time, especially in this economy, right? You have people who have 15 years of experiences applying for, you know, entry-level, mid-senior, or mid-level roles. And that's like, okay, that happens. So just want you to know that. I was just listening to a podcast one time. It was this woman saying how she used to be at one job where she was kind of like a senior director. And she transferred to another job. It paid more, but she had less sort of say or leadership or influence when it came to that position. And that could be part of this story as well. Just an example. You know, these aren't saying literal, these are things that happen to you. I just like to provide examples so you can understand what's going on and what I mean when I say this and how things unfold. But there's definitely lots of ways this can play out. When we're talking about, you know, what's coming and what's unfolding for you financially, we know the Page of Pentacles is a new opportunity. But before we move on there, I do want to roll the Astro dice. I've been trying to introduce them like midway through the readings to try something new, because when I introduce them at the beginning, guys, oh, this one's spiraling. Let me get to that. That is Scorpio, Rahu, and I'll get to the other dice. And we have the 9th house. So Rahu in the 9th house in Scorpio. So I was saying, I've been trying to introduce the dice midway through because sometimes I go on a long tangent just about the astrology, and I'm like, nah, let's make sure we're reading the cards as well. So I wanted to say with the Page of Pentacles here. With the Page of Pentacles here, this represents a new opportunity that you'll make money, obviously. Don't get me wrong. I won't say that this is the most lucrative card, right? The Page of Pentacles, they're not known for being extremely rich. This is not to say that all of a sudden you, like if you make a lot of money, you're going to go to like a brokey. Nope. I'm just saying that this new opportunity coming in financially, it's good. But it's different than what you might have been doing before, because pages tend to represent things that are new. They are always learning. And so even if, I'll say this, even if you somehow stay in the same field or at the same job, you might find yourself doing things within your current role that you previously did not do. And sometimes companies do this, right? They have a certain amount of employees and they don't want to hire anyone else. And so they'd start assigning their employees to different roles that aren't necessarily in alignment with their job skills. You'll see sometimes employers will say something like on the, I guess you could say, contract, that you get to be assigned different tasks within that may not be that may not be listed. You know, they'll give you your job duties and then they'll say, and then you may be assigned tasks that aren't currently listed. What they don't say is the jobs have to make sense for your role, right? You can't go from a janitor to being an engineer. Like, it doesn't make sense. But anyway, companies will use that type of phrasing to get you to do different roles. And I feel like that is a possibility here. But for some of you, like I said, you're leaving that ecosystem and you're going to a different place. And so when we have the Page of Pentacles here, it's like, okay, I'm doing something I haven't previously done before. And this is a new opportunity. And it is something that is financially viable. It does seem to be consistent and stability. There is some stability there. And the Page of Pentacles, they show up. You know, the Page of Pentacles, of all the pages, they are the most consistent. They are an earth sign here. Don't get me wrong. They have their periods where they want to take an off day. They want to disappear. They aren't perfect. But it shows that this is a pretty solid opportunity that is coming in for you. It's like you move into an environment where you're like a beginner again, right? So that is kind of what I want to see there. There's a learning curve. And if we're talking about just strictly the financial situation, it's different. It's different. It's new. And I want to say this, Rahu in the 9th house in Scorpio. So if we even just look at Rahu in Scorpio, Rahu wants to blow up things, expand things, and it's all about receiving benefits from other people. And so what we look at here is trying to do your best to sign some lucrative contracts that are beneficial towards you. However, what I have seen play out with Rahu in the 8th house, I mean, it's the 9th house here, but you can treat Rahu and Scorpio as like Rahu in the 8th house, or the death card here, we have Scorpio as well connected to the death card. So this is where I'm getting this interpretation from. I've seen this to create more so like financial opportunities that may not be as permanent or long lasting. So it's like you kind of get yours when you can, like, you know what I mean? It's not something that is, it's not something you want to build a full-term career on, okay? I just want to say that. Just strictly looking at the financial view. And so this pretty much aligns with that Page of Pentacles feel to it, right? This is new, this is something. It has to grow, it has to move in a different direction. It can't just stay in this one place, right? So let's say you have some very bonus heavy arrangement. You have a big sign-on bonus. They can't keep giving you these big bonuses every year, right? The role has to transform. It has to grow in a different way, you know, meaning you have to build your way up the corporate ladder or some other, expand your business in some way if you have a business, in order to sustain that wealth or that income. All right. I hope I'm making sense for you guys, right? So it's magnifying exchanges. It's magnifying contracts, shared resources. And so this is good, right? Like I said, it's good for taking an opportunity of something big. But like I said, you're going to want to pivot after a certain point because you're realizing this is not something that can last. All right, I think I covered that. And then I wanted to talk about this Rahu in the 9th house feel to it with the Scorpio. So this is going to bring about, there's this really strong focus when it comes to contracts and ensuring that you have the right things in your contract that feels successful. Rahu is like the ultimate representative of like what looks good on paper, right? And so if we're literally talking about things that look good on paper, this contract will look good on paper, right? This next contract that you will sign when it comes to your work. And for those of you who are self-employed, or let's say that you have your own business, or even just you have your own side hustle when it comes to this just generally represents bringing in more clients and doing your best to advertise yourself, and doing so by trying to understand the psychology of your clients. You know how sometimes marketing companies, not sometimes, they always do this, they build client profiles. So they might have like 10 different client profiles, and based off of those client profiles, they will create advertisements to specifically market to those customers. So they might buy ads on certain websites that fit their customer market. Now, I'm not saying you're doing that if you have your own business. Maybe you are, depending on what you are, depending on where you're at in your business. But let's say you're in social media. You know how different platforms can attract different people. You might show different content on different platforms based upon who is watching those videos. Something like that. That is something I want to say. You might talk about different products to different customers. You're basically doing your research here when we're talking about Rahu in the 9th house. And then also this can just represent doing your digging when it comes to the companies, which aligns with that Master of Clouds intellect, which is basically the King of Swords, as I said. You are doing your deep dive and researches into who exactly are you applying to, who is your customer, who are these recruiters, who are these companies. Like, you're really trying to get to know them and figure out what exactly is the best for you. You know what I mean? So make sure you're reading the fine print in this time period. I think you will be, but just as a reminder, please continue to do so. And I really feel as though you guys are having just a complete turn of events. Especially when we talk about this Fool card, take a leap, chance, wild card energy. It's actually interesting here. Because when we talk about the Fool, take a leap, take a chance, and like what's happening here. For some of you, I think I've already said this, but this is definitely a new role. Like it's a new role, new opportunity. Something is coming in. And it's not as if you won't be successful, because I do feel like you will be successful. It's just that your success looks different. It looks different than you pictured it in your mind. I do want to say that in terms of like workplace drama, I don't know, you might feel as though your bosses are a little bit more self-serving. That can happen with Rahu in the 9th house. Like, they're focused on their own career ambitions. They're not necessarily there to support you. And so this can be a period where you're deciding to less lean, not lean as much on like having this teacher mentorship relationship with people in authority, and you're more so leaning into having that independent mindset of like, I need to guide myself. That can happen there. Also, it's like when we have the 6 of Wands reversed, you're kind of reflecting back on the struggle a little bit. And what I mean by that is this transition phase may feel a little shocking to you. And because of that, you're like, oh man, I hope I'm not going back to where I was. There's like a few piles that kind of have this vibe to it, where I'm not going back to where I was. And I remember how far I've come. Let me keep making sure that I'm on the right path. And I don't think you guys have as much anxiety as certain other pals, but you do reflect on that a little bit. And in a way becomes motivation for you to move forward, because we do have the 9th house, and that does connect to inspiration. And so we know that you are motivated to succeed here. But I will say this, you're probably going to get that new job offer if you're looking for one. You're definitely expanding your business and clientele, but if you have a business, but I'll be honest, you're doing it slowly, and you're being a little bit more risque and taking more chances in what exactly that you're doing within your business. Whether that's you working with people that you may not have thought to work with, you take a chance and hire certain people, you decide that you want to buy some equipment that you think will be great when it comes to taking your business to the next level. There's a lot of things you can do with a business, right? Whether that be for you, if you are applying, if you're more so like a 9-to-5 employee, part-time employee, whatever the heck. This is like saying you may take some risks, you may take some chances when it comes to how you decide to advertise yourself. And then generally for the Fool card, we have somebody who's very independent, who likes to do their own thing. And that can represent that there is an opportunity for you to do your own side adventure. But I just want to say that it's more of a steady growth. You will learn a lot, and it won't go exactly how you expect it, but you will build towards something substantial. So this next phase in your career is very much, how do I say it, transition phase. I mean, all of these cards like scream transition. And so it's not exactly this, I'm in a stable, rock hard place and I'm unmovable. This is like, no, I'm switching things up. And I am going to a place that I feel might encourage me more, or inspires me more, or where I feel a little bit more upward mobility, or I feel like there's opportunity for more growth, and I can learn and I can develop, because that's what the Page of Pentacles wants. And that's exactly where you're going to end up. So I do want you to know that. Last thing I want to talk about is this Uranus and Scorpio feel. So when we talk about Uranus and Scorpio feel, we talk about unexpected circumstances when it comes to money windfalls or income coming in, or even just, like I said, the bonus example that I gave earlier. So what can happen is like, okay, I suddenly get this windfall of stocks, or I suddenly get this windfall or opportunities when it comes to, I don't know, I don't get travel here. I don't get travel abroad here, but like, let's say you want to work at this company that you think is really good. And you're like, oh, I suddenly get this opportunity to work at this amazing company that I've kind of had my eye on, or maybe I've just learned about, but whatever the case may be. It's an opportunity that's coming in. it's an opportunity that's coming in that seems solid, that seems good. And then when we talk about this 8th house energy, this Scorpio-like energy, this can also represent that you're, what's the word? More fearless, you know. You're like, I've got to leave all of the nonsense behind. Like, I can't keep doing the same old, same old. I can't keep clocking into the same job. I can't keep up the same schedule. I can't keep seeing the same people over and over again. I can't have the same career trajectory. So this is a complete transformation of that period within your life, especially when we're talking about this 8th house feel to it. So I do want you to know that when we talk about, you know, Uranus being in the sign of Scorpio here, and also when we have Rahu in Scorpio. And Rahu and Scorpio are actually interesting because they kind of remind me of each other, because they're both these wild card energies where they're just like, I've got to leave the past behind. Like, I've got to be in this new wave, this new innovation period in my life. And all of that is happening in the area of the 8th house of shared resources, or within that Scorpio energy frame. You know, that's something that's really, really important. I think that when I look at this, you are escaping a system that, I don't know, they just didn't reward you. You know, it wasn't exactly, it's not terrible here. Okay, I don't get that vibe from this pile. I don't get like I've been in a tragic situation. And if you've been in a tragic situation, feel free to choose a new pile, because this might not be for you. Or maybe this specific message is not for you. But this is not, I'm ending a tragic situation. It's just more so like my returns are diminishing. And I've got to go with the flow. And I can't keep investing in the same old, same old. I've got to try something new, because that will lead me down to a better road with stronger networks and more opportunities. That's essentially what's happening here. There is, I guess you could say, deliberate instability. Faster learning, bigger reaches. You used to be known for one thing, now you're known for another thing. You're moving to a different agency. You're switching paths. Like, I don't know how much more I can say the same thing when it comes to the next stage in your career. You're moving on. Okay? Ultimately, you're moving on. You're very strategic. You're smart about it. You're doing your best. I love that, because that Master of Clouds is somebody who's thinking like 20 steps ahead. And they're utilizing every tool that they can possibly have. And they're relying on, like I said, maybe even a strong recommendation here, which I think you're going to get if you are searching for one. They're looking to, I don't know, it's interesting because you're remaining a little bit humble about your accomplishments, even though you have a lot of them. But the overall feel from astrologically wise is that, yeah, the 9th house can connect to a big adventure and travel, and the Fool card can connect to that as well. But for some reason, I don't get the feeling that you are necessarily like going overseas for the job. I just don't get that feeling. What I feel is though this is just more of the transition, and maybe the company works with a lot of companies abroad. It's not just based within the country that you live in. This is a more international company. So that is kind of more the feel I'm getting. But that's what I have for you, pile number 2. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe. And don't forget to follow me on all social medias. And I can't say enough. Subscribe. And don't forget to book a private reading for me if you want more personalized reading content. Then a private reading from me will actually assist with that. Yes, and I can get more detailed, and I like to apply numerology. I like to focus on your specific needs and thoughts and provide you insights that can help you feel empowered to make strong decisions within your life. Okay, so I do want you to know that I offer astrology and tarot readings. I prefer Vedic astrology, and you see how I like to combine the energies of the astrology. And there's a lot more I actually want to say here, especially when we're talking about Rahu in the 9th house, because this can get to be about having a more diverse group of community. Like you're working with people who are a lot different from you. And what this can look like is international teams. So that, for example, I might not have included that. Threw it in at the end, but you know, there's a lot more to say. So this is what I want to say, and I'm going to leave it there, and I'll see you next time. Au revoir. Hey, pal. Number 3, let's get into what's happening next in your career. We have enjoy the ride. Well, why does that feel sarcastic? We have the Page of Swords. We have the Novice of Gems, but it's coming up reverse, skill development. Then we have the Apprentice of Gems, efficiency. And then we have the Tower card, and we have the Fool. Okay. Novice of Gems. I'm guessing that's the Page of Coins. And then we also have the Apprentice of Gems. So I'm assuming that is the Knight of Swords. Sorry, Knight of Pentacles. All right. When we look at these cards here, enjoy the ride. We've got the little merry-go-round here, guys. All right. We know what that's like. We know what it's like to enjoy the ride and to buckle up, because this is about to get fun. So we keep getting this Fool card coming up for so many different pals, and I love that we're in a 1 year and we're talking about taking risks and taking bold chances and starting anew. And it's really showing up in how we are all choosing our career paths. Not everyone, but you know, it's happening a lot, guys. Enjoy the ride is definitely going to say this next phase in your career is definitely something that is unexpected, right? Very much expect the unexpected, especially when we combine it with the Tower and the Fool card going on here. There's some aspects of your career that are being shaken up. You know, it feels as if when I see the Tower, generally I'm like, all right, you're definitely busting out of there. You know what I mean? Especially the Tower. You know, the Fool sometimes can represent that you're just kind of having more responsibilities within that role, or maybe you're shifting around in that environment. But the Tower card is generally you're switching environments. When you think about it, the lightning strikes the Tower. You can't live there anymore, right? And the same thing works for a job. When you have that lightning strike, it's like, oh, this is not a workable environment for me. And so when we're looking at this enjoy the ride energy, it's like, all right, this is going to be a little bit of a shakeup, but it's something that's going to end up being very, very good. At least that's how I see it. These opportunities may arrive in ways that you didn't expect, and there are new opportunities coming in, okay? They may come in a little bit slower, just because we have the Novice of Gems reverse, and we also have the Apprentice of Gems and efficiency. So the opportunities may come in a little bit slower than you would like, but they're definitely coming in for sure, right? And then I want to say something with the Tower moments. I can see this for representing, like, sometimes a team gets dissolved, sometimes a contract ends, sometimes funding is cut or leadership changes. Or even just, you know, it feels as though some people's roles become obsolete. That can possibly change as well. But I do like that you're moving on and you're almost embracing the change too. Because when we talk about the Tower card, there is a sense of relief to it. The Tower card represents the truth coming out as well. And so this can be facing your own truth about a situation where you just feel like, you know what, overall that you talk to yourself and you say, overall that environment wasn't sustainable for me. And you finally have that honest moment, or that honest reckoning with yourself. and you let it go. You just say, gotta get out of here. This is not it. Like you were in the state where you were constantly justifying the role. I need the job. I need the money. Where else am I going to find a place or environment like this? You know, but then you find out the role is taking actually a lot out of you, right? That Page of Pentacles reverse situation, or Novice of Gems reverse, is very much like, I don't think what I'm putting in should be, you know, is what I'm getting out. You know what I mean? Like, I'm putting more in than what is worth it. You know, I'm trying to be this A+ team member, employee, but it's not being acknowledged, and maybe I haven't even been provided a sense of direction in what they're looking for, or how they even reward people, or how they decide to give people praise or benefits, or how they give them raises and everything like that. It's just not making sense. That's kind of what the vibe is here a little bit, right? And so I will say this. In your next phase, for some of you who are jumping ship, which is, I don't know, a lot of people are jumping ship. It's interesting because we're in an environment of job hugging. So trust me, I'm not trying to interpret these cards and saying everybody's jumping ship. No, I mean, this is what the cards are saying. The process is a little slower. And maybe that Page of Pentacles reversed is a little bit of job hugging, because sometimes the Page of Pentacles reversed can be a little bit risk averse, but then, you know, you eventually get to that point where you jump ship and you're like, I'm out of here. But as I was saying before, this can represent that interviews are a little bit taking longer than you would like. Don't get me wrong, you are coming in and you're trying to present yourself in a good light. You're making good conversation. You are marketing yourself. You're getting some sort of feedback, but the hiring process is slow. The interview process is long. You know, one time I was talking to a job and they said their interviewing process was like 8 weeks of just back and forth interviews. Nightmarish, guys. It's wild out here. But there's something to do with that going on here. But ultimately, it's like you get out of this headspace where you stop trying to justify why you need to stay in a situation, and you get the hell out of Dodge. Excuse my language, but you really do. That's ultimately what I see here. If we look at what's unfolding financially for you, well, financially, obviously this represents you want some changes, right? You feel as though this enjoy the ride part, it's a merry-go-round here. Not much happens on a merry-go-round. It's kind of very much, I'm just moving in circles here, and it's just feeling goofy. It's almost like you feel as though you've been stuck in this cycle of jobs that weren't exactly moving you up the ladder, right? And maybe they have their different changes, you know, how merry-go-rounds, you start to see different elements of the world around you. On one side of the merry-go-round, you can see the Ferris wheel. And then on the other side of the merry-go-round, you see a booth where people are buying popcorns. And this is what I mean in terms of career. Like, different environments have, like, different benefits, different people, different things that you may not have seen at the last job. But at the end of the day, they're all pretty similar, or they're all offering this sort of similar benefits, which is going on here. And so we get to this Page of Swords stage with the next phase in your career, and you're just like, I need a change. You know, you might even not even thinking about a financial change all outright at first. You're just thinking about like everything that you have gone through, because the Page of Swords is like, I want something new. Like, I don't want the same old, same old. I remember I got the Page of Swords for this summer, previous summer, I should say. And that whole summer was just me studying, me having this deep desire and craving towards like learning. And, you know, I probably already have that, but it was more so I wanted to learn more about things that I didn't previously have any knowledge of. Like, there was a strong craving to expand my mind. And so I really do feel like something about you is like, I just need to expand my job environment. It's the same plateau. It's the same stuff. Like every role is teaching me just basically their system or their or workflow, but it's not a meaningful output. It's not something I can market myself with. And that can apply for a business as well. Like maybe you feel like you've been doing the same old merry-go-round, and you're like, I just need to do something new because I keep getting these same results. Yeah, you know, customers come in, customers come out, but I'm not actually going anywhere. I'm not actually building momentum. I'm not actually growing as a business or in my side hustle or whatever you do. Like, heck, you could be a comedian on the side and you just feel like I'm doing the same gigs, I'm doing the same route or routine and places and venues over and over again, but I'm not going bigger. I'm not doing the comedy shows. I'm not doing Netflix. Like, I'm not getting a special. So I've got to try something different. This is what's happening here. You know, even if, like, let's say you get some title changes, yeah, or you get some sort of like new responsibility, it's like it's happening for you without any real growth. You know how sometimes we get assigned things, but then there's no real authority to it? It's like, I'm not the decision maker though. You kind of just slapped on a title to just make me seem like I'm doing something or to appease me in some way, but it's shallow. So there's something like that happening. And it's like you're getting over this shallowness. You're like, I need depth. I need something different. And this is why we have skill development reversed, right? Because you're not building skills that can help you leverage, that help you bring leverage as an employee. Or you're not building skills that help you attract the clients that you want, or the business that you want, or the role that you want. You know, if you want something creatively, you know, or the backers that you want. If you're an artist and you're looking for backers, you're like, I'm not getting that. I'm not learning anything. I'm not moving anywhere. I'm not changing. And you get tired of that. You don't want that anymore. You know, you're sick of that novelty, and you change directions, and your change and your desire to change direction starts to compound. You start seeking roles that matter to you. You start looking deeper at contracts. And trust me, that Knight of Pentacles, he's obsessive and he's detail oriented and he's looking at everything. He's actually doing a little too much. So, but he's doing so much because he's in a learning period. And so he doesn't know it works. He doesn't know what's going to get him the role that he wants or get him to the place that he wants to go to. He just knows he needs to know everything. He needs to try everything. He needs to keep going. And because you have that momentum, because you have that drive within you, you're going to land at a better company or at a better place. For sure. For sure. The Tower is this epiphany moment. It's like I was just saying, how the Knight of Pentacles or the Apprentice of Gems is moving towards something that builds traction, that you have to experiment to figure out what works. And then you have this Tower moment. You figure it out. You're like, oh, wait, this is going to get me the place I want to be. Or heck, not even if you're trying to get to the place you want to be, you're just like, now I know the place where I want to be. You know more about yourself. And so now you know where you want to go. You know what I mean? For example, you might say, well, what really attracts me to a job? Like, some people like the social element of the job. And so what really attracts them is having like really cool coworkers and people to hang out with, and they like the hanging outwards and team building exercises, and they're like, oh, I love this. This is what I love about the job. Other people, they like the projects. They like focusing on the work. They like growing. They like being challenged through their work, right? And so you figure out what exactly you want through your work. And this is for some people, right? Like I said, some people, it's they figure out what they want through their work. Other people, it's just like, I know what I want. I just got to get the role, you know? So this is what I'm talking about here when it comes to that next stage in your career. So as I said, financially, you're in a transition stage, but with the Knight of Pentacles, things keep growing, right? I remember one time I got this injury and I was like, dang, will this thing ever goes away? Because it's been a while. And I got the Knight of Pentacles for that card. And yes, it did go away, but it took some time. It took like a year or something. I'm not saying it's going to take you a year to get to this new role. it's just saying that it took a while for me to overcome that injury, that weird, you know, pain or whatever that I had, that discomfort. And in this way, speaking of discomfort, this is kind of like strategic discomfort, right? Like you choose an unfamiliar path to break a loop, to move to a different space to get a new output based upon your new input, right? You know, you test new markets, new formats, new business models, new ways of framing yourself to get what you want. You know, you're leaving a place of repetition. You're moving to a place of expansion. Now I'm going to roll out these Astro dice. I have been trying to do the mid-reading so we can get a lot of tarot. All right, I had to be gentle with them. They fell off the table before. We got the third house, the sun, and Leo. So Leo and the sun in the third house. Leo and the sun in the third house is very radical and transformative. And also, sometimes I get this to connect with children just because I did my kid study and like who has the most children, and generally it was a lot of third house placements, right? Which makes sense because the third house does connect to intimacy as well, but whatever. So maybe this new role involves working with children. Wouldn't be surprising. We've got Page of Swords, we got the Page of Pentacles, we got the Knight of Pentacles. These are all very young cards, and the Fool, you can kind of look at the Fool as like a baby. So yeah, there is that element. But then also I want to get into the fact that this new role could actually represent a lot of writing. And also when we have the sun in the third house, because the sun card represents like a new start, like a reset. This is like saying, okay, we have a reset on all things when it comes to skills, which is interesting because we have that Novice of Gems skill development reversed, and sometimes we get reversals to represent I am going back and redoing something or relearning something or transforming how I approach things. Sorry, pal number 3, my camera overheated. So what I was saying is that I love that we're getting that confirmation twice when it comes to skill building or refining your skills in a way. And I do want to say that I don't know if I mentioned this because, you know, it's been a bit of a pause, but this sun in the Leo sign in the third house is sort of youth-facing environments. So maybe some of you, this is specifically talking about your role working with people who are younger, excuse me, who aren't like in the mastery stages of life. Like generally, that's going to represent, hey, I don't necessarily always work with adults, or maybe I work with adults that act like kids, you know what I mean? So for some of you, this is youth programs, teaching, tutoring, and sometimes it's just quite literally teaching, just because the third house can connect to education. Now we don't have like the Hierophant or ninth house energy or something like that, but you know, third house still can be like some sort of teaching involved with that. And I do want you to know that. This next stage in your career can be for some of you that you're taking on writing or even just using your voice more. I know when we talk about the third house, we're always talking about writing some book or like going on doing some speeches or whatever. But the fact of the matter is it just represents using your voice more and having to market yourself, market your product, you know, market whatever, your lesson plans or putting yourself out there. Making proposals if you're a contractor, and you know, these are the things that you may be doing more when it comes to the next stage within your career. You know, you are researching more about how you can be a little bit more strategic when it comes to your job, when it comes to, like I said, if you're looking for a job, when it comes to any business or gathering clientele. This is definitely saying, okay, we're having a reset in this area of visibility through my voice, you know? So you're going to be known for your ideas. You're known for how you explain things. You're known for how you communicate. And sun in the third house is somebody who communicates from a place of authority. Generally, I see sun in the third house just represents like somebody is really good at explaining things. Now, depending on what sign it's in, this is in the sign of Leo. So this is like explaining things that have to do with anything education, anything dating, anything having to do with children or a lesson plan or astrology, even tarot, because the fifth house connects to all of those esoteric things and new age things. These are all the things that can pop up when we're talking about this going on. And it becomes a place of growth for you as we enter this next stage in your career. So I do want you to know that the third house also represents like your immediate environment. And when we're talking about this is saying that, hey, your immediate environment can be surrounded by people who have some sort of authority. And usually that will mean people who are well educated, or just generally maybe they have a lot of power and influence. Sometimes it's very political. The sun is a very political card. And then, or it's just like, hey, my coworkers are like senior leadership, or like I'm surrounded by people who are the big bosses, right? That's sort of the thing that can be going on there when we look at that. But as I was saying, yes, there is a money upgrade in your situation, okay? But we do want to say that this is a slow and steady improvement. And I gave the example earlier, at least I think I gave the example earlier, with how I had a shoulder injury and the Knight of Pentacles was like this slow healing progression. And that's the same thing when it comes to the financial improvement. This is step by step, being able to get one raise and then get another raise, or if you have your own business, get one client, gain another client, gain a different avenue or stream of income. You know, you start selling things, you start making digital products, you build a team out, whatever the case may be. But it's a slow and steady upgrade. You're going in the right direction. Okay, don't get me wrong. It's not saying that everything's going to be perfect and smooth and wonderful. We hit that tower moment, right? Which means you might have to, you know, look back at things and restructure things again, but it doesn't matter because you're going in the right direction for sure. And what I love about this is this next stage in your career, you're like, if you're an employee, you're negotiating with a lot of confidence. You're pitching the fact that you deserve a raise. Like your start of the year, you're like, hey, I want to end this year with a $5,000 raise, a $10,000 raise. Like, this is what I want. And you're going to your managers and you're like, how can I get that? That is what I want. How can I get that? And so this is what's happening here when it comes to making sure that you're being noticed by your peers and people around you. And that becomes part of the journey and part of the story. For some of you, just this is a side note, this can just represent that this next stage in your career, I don't know if this is important, but you may have a more of a scenic route when it comes to work. And the only reason I say that is because we have this third house Leo with the sun. You know, the sun is in its own sign, Leo. And, you know, Leo sun, very extravagant, very beautiful, very well put together, having a lot of va-va-voom, capture your attention. It's putting in the work, you know? And so when we talk about that and we talk about your commute and your way to work, then it's like saying, okay, this is very scenic and beautiful. That's just a little side note, not really that important, but just wanted to know that. Maybe you had a lot of traffic and it just looked like gray city life or dull suburban life. And you're like, oh, I'm sick of going to work. I just see the same thing over and over. And this is like, now you see the mountains, you see something more beautiful, and it inspires you through a, I don't know, just daily. But yeah, you're stepping into this place of leadership and you're no longer asking for permission. You are getting out of the space of being this timid page of swords, this timid page of pentacles, and you're getting more confidence, like this Knight of Pentacles there. Not saying that they're super confident, but they're getting there. They're growing. They feel like they've established themselves more, right? This is where it happens. And so we know that, we know that maybe a contract's ending. Maybe a team is dissolving. Maybe whatever, some working environment no longer works. We're saying goodbye to a role. We're saying goodbye to a contract. We're moving on out of this path. And we're asking more questions. We're doing more research. We're checking out what these companies are into. We're doing more informal interviews. Like we're asking, oh, what's it like to work there, to people who are currently working in that environment. We are experimenting with how you're presenting yourself. You are, like I said, relearning or refining some sort of skill. And I really like this because when I see you going into this next stage, I feel like you are producing high quality work that is different, unique, and innovative. And when I talk about the Fool card here, and we mentioned this next stage in your career, the Fool card can be quite wild. And I guess that's why we have enjoy the ride here. We start with enjoy the ride and we have another ride at the end. So it's very much like you don't know what's coming next in this next stage of your career. There is a sense of exploration or adventure, and it feels as though like, wow, like I feel like my career is going through so many different transformations. Like one day I'm at this job, the next day I found my way to another job and a new opportunity that's coming into my life. Now, I want to say, because you know me, I read what I see, and I want to say my intentions is not to concern anyone, not to give any worries, but I don't want to sit here and say that, hey, this is the most stable pile in terms of next stage in your career. But I do want to say that you'll land on your feet and things will work out. You know, the Fool card, at the end of the day, he makes it to the end of his journey, the world, right? He has the success, whatever. You know, it's don't worry about it is what the cards are saying. So yes, right now this next stage brings a lot of uncertainty, but it also brings a lot of novelty and switching up of the pace and transformation and experimentation, and also a release of workload. I mean, it's kind of interesting because on one hand you get a little bit more responsibility, but then on the other hand you also get some sort of level of flexibility, and maybe that's more flexibility within your schedule. Maybe you have a shorter commute. Maybe it's the work itself is just more exciting, so you're not feeling that sense of pressure or heaviness to it. But whatever the case may be, this new stage is going to be, how do I say this? It's going to feel as though you are moving to a place that brings you a lot more fulfillment than you have experienced before. Because the Fool card is on a journey to learn about life, to experience the joys, the ups and downs, the trials and tribulations that come with everything that life has to offer. And so we know that there's growth. We know that there's expansion. We know that there's going to be some wins along the way. And I just feel you might, how do I say this? I feel like this next stage in your career is you letting go of an older identity of yourself and maybe how you used to be or how you used to approach your job or how you used to identify yourself or your title or whatever in the workspace, and you're taking on something new and something different. And this next role, this next project, this next stage is definitely going to be more suitable and more in alignment to where you need to be, to where you should be, to where it feels right for you. So that is what I want to say, pile number 3. Hopefully that resonates. This sounds like you are in for a lot of beautiful things happening here, a lot of personal growth, which I absolutely love to see. The fact that you are adjusting how you approach things pretty quickly, learning fast, and making these big impressions on people, I'm very proud of you. And so if you want to expand more on what could be happening next in your career, feel free to get a private reading with me. I offer a number of limited readings per week, and we can expand and even do the numerology and go deeper into what is happening here, especially since, you know, we got this Tower card energy, and we know 6 and 1, they equal 7. And so we know that this is a period of study, contemplation, also having to do with feedback and criticism and all about that refining that we were talking about earlier. This is what the 7 energy represents. Sometimes people say 7 is just more so of a relaxing energy, and it can be these moments that are happening here, but the core theme is representing a lot of depth, a lot of independence, as well as really taking a moment to pause and reflect as to where you're going in the next stage in your life. So that's what I'll go through in my private readings. And if you're interested in that, feel free to get a private reading below. And If not, you can just ask a question during the lives, you know. And I do astrology, I do the tarot lives. I'm starting the astrology, guys. So if you weren't aware of it, we're doing astrology readings live now. And so go and check through that. And also, speaking of astrology, we'll go through the 12 signs every now and then when there's up and coming transits or things that I might feel is important, or if I have some extra time, I'm like, let's sit down and talk about the astrology, and you might be interested in how that is going to unfold for you as well. And that is all I have for you. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Au revoir. Hey, pal. Number 4. Let's get into what's coming next in your career. We have sound. I'm trying to read this, guys. Sound, Renaissance, frequency. Five of Swords. The 10 of Clouds ending. Sorry, I was thinking about the card, guys. The 5 of Raindrops lost. The Death card reverse. And the Chariot reversed. Alright. So, if we look at these cards here, I feel like there's this element of this next stage in your career that almost feels as if you're living through some chaotic record. You know what I mean? I think that, and maybe I shouldn't say chaotic and throw you guys off and think that this is just a terrible time in your career next, whatever. But I just mean is, it feels like the next stage in your career, you're going to look back and feel like there was a lot going on there, you know? When you listen to something like an album and somebody pours their heart and soul into it, at least a good album, it represents a stage and an era in someone's life. And people don't usually make albums about stages and eras in their lives that were just mundane and peaceful, you know? You know, I mean, it can happen, but I'm sure it has happened, but it's not the thing that kind of sparks people, right? There's usually got to be some sort of drama, or maybe some sort of excitement or whatever that's going on, but there's something more than the mundane and the everyday and etc. So I feel as though this next stage in your career has a little bit of pizzazz to it, if I can say that. And if I look at these cards, I have a feeling that what you're doing now, or like what type of work or what environment you're in now, like maybe, you know, years from now or a year from now, you're going to be telling stories about it. You know, it's going to be like, oh, that was the year I left so-and-so job because the risk was blah, 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 and the environment was X, Y, and Z, and the people were da-da-da-da, right? It is feeling as though you were experimenting more, right? Like you're trying different things within your career. That was the year that I decided I want to start my own side business, or that I even just took a side gig, right? And there's a lot of different side gigs out there. You're like, I just decided to take a side gig at my local community center and get paid. I don't know how much that you would get paid for that, if you get paid at all. And that ended up being this very dramatic thing. It had a lot of stories about kids' parents and all of that jazz, right? This is a memorable time in your career, like something you will not forget. This Death card reverse makes me feel like, oh, this is something I'm not going to let go. This is something that I'm going to keep with me for life. Or whether it's just like the stories, or whether it's having to do with the feelings behind it, or any lessons that you incurred during this time period. But this is that type of period. Whether that is, okay, I'm working with an intense team, which looks likely here. with the Five of Swords and the Five of Raindrops, which is essentially the Five of Cups. And you could also be, what's the word for it? Maybe you feel as though in this next stage, there's not as much acknowledgement as there should be. Let me say this. This next stage, it's almost like this stage becomes the fuel for you to jump ship or move forward or go to something else. This stage becomes about, I don't know, letting go of this space of being underappreciated, right? When I get the Five of Swords, and I remember I've gotten it quite a few times to represent jobs that they don't really appreciate their employees. Maybe they don't give them raises. They don't, you know, invite them to certain events. They keep them out of closed meetings. They don't invest in them as an employee. They simply just don't care about them. You know, they're kind of like selfish and only thinking about themselves and not thinking about how can I grow my team. The Five of Cups can be similar, meaning like you just feel disappointed with the space that you're in and you're emotionally drained and you're like, I gotta get out of here. I've been holding on to something that doesn't, you know, it doesn't do much for me anymore. Maybe things used to be wonderful. Maybe things used to be good. Maybe things used to be peaceful, because the Five of Swords come from that place of that Four of Swords, right? Where things are stagnant, things are calm, things are restful, and then it gets to this place where things are pretty toxic. And so there might be a part of you that maybe even looks back at this specific job or this specific period, or even just other periods in your life of employment where you're like, oh, things used to be so cool. And or like maybe you work in a certain industry, right? In the industry, maybe it used to be super chill or whatever, and now things have changed, now things have transformed, and you kind of keep looking back to that feeling of just like, is it going to go back to that space? The cards are like, it's not. It's changing, it's transforming, and it's here to stay. And I really do feel like in this stage, you have to confront some people, because I do want to say this. We have almost like, it's interesting. We have the Ten of Clouds, which is like the Ten of Swords, that's about ending. So you're moving on from something. But then we have the Death card reversed, which is like a lack of ending, or a delayed ending, or things not coming to a full head. And so when I look at this outcome and these cards together, for me it feels as if, all right, you are moving to another stage, you are moving to something different, you are transforming, but it's either one, happening slowly, or two, you kind of have to like confront some people or learn some lessons as you get out, as you're on your way out the door. You know, you're being taught something essential when it comes to staying in a role too long, or staying in a job position too long, or staying in an industry too long. The cards want you to teach you a lesson to make sure that you never do that. And this is for maybe a specific subset of people. This is also teaching you something about maybe the systems. And I just did a video about Sestabisha, and sometimes we go into a role or position and it's not clear to us based on the environment, who's being rewarded, how they're being rewarded, and etc. Now that's being revealed to you, you see things are kind of shady, and you're like, oh, okay, might want to get out of here. Might want to find a way to find something different. This is also having to do with setting some boundaries, just because we have the Chariot card reversed. And when we have the Chariot card reversed, they kind of have lost control of things. The Chariot card reversed is like, oh, we're going off track here. We're not in alignment with our purpose. We're not in alignment with our goals. And to me, it feels like this stage, this next stage in your career, is you acknowledging that somehow you might have drifted a little bit too far off the track that really connected to you and really inspired you. And now you're doing your best to get back to where it feels fulfilling for you, where it feels right for you when it comes to your career. Because that Chariot card reversed is saying, you know, I just don't feel like a winner. I don't feel like I'm going in the direction I need to go, or maybe it's 2 steps forward or 2 steps back. And you're over that. You're frustrated with that. But there is a reason for it. So don't think that the universe is just putting you through. You know what? I don't want to speak for the universe, because don't put that on me. But I do think and believe that there's a lesson there. So I'm just going to say that in terms of that. Universe works in mysterious ways. But I do want to say that this becomes about, how do I say, rejecting a lack of reciprocity, getting out of this space of the Sunday dread. And we all know that feeling, that dread of Monday coming, and you get this drop within your stomach and you're like, oh God, it's coming. So getting out of that space of low morale, that space of feeling unseen, that space of being underappreciated, that space of being misaligned and being in a culture that it just doesn't make sense for you, and having to nitpick and fight every day, and getting out of here. That is what this stage is like. And I think what the cards are saying, which is what I said previously, I think for a lot of you, they're just kind of saying this next stage, you're slowly getting out of it. Okay? Maybe you would like to move a little bit faster, but it's just going to take some time. It's just going to take some time to get out of this trashy place who doesn't appreciate you for the value that you bring. Right? Not at all. I think when we look at what's going to be unfolding financially, generally I'll say this. We know the 5s represent change and transformation. We have the Death card also representing an ending. And we have this 10 of Clouds representing endings as well. There is going to be a financial change within your career. But I do think that you might hit this point where it's a little bit dissatisfactory if you're not already there yet. I would be surprised if you already kind of felt dissatisfied with the financial, environment of your career. But you're going to get to a stage where you might have to be a little bit down before you get back up again. Right? It's that Chariot off track that I kind of gave you. You exit the job, you exit the role, you exit the position, but it may not be in the way that you want to, or it may be a lot slower than you would like to. And for some people, and please don't beat me up, guys. Remember, I'm a real world tarot reader. If this is not your style, feel free to choose someone else. If you're in a sensitive place in your life, move on. And I'm not for you. But when we get the Chariot card reversed, sometimes that's people getting kicked to the curb, right? That can happen. The Death card reverse can sometimes represent that this was a needed change, a forced change, and I have a little bit been kicked out on my butt. And the only reason I say a forced change is because we have that 5 of Swords and that 5 of Cups. And when we talk about the 5 of Cups, raindrops, loss, nobody willingly loses something, right? That's why it's called loss. If it would just be throwing away if we willingly got rid of something, right? We're throwing away, we get rid of it. But loss is like, oh, right, this is not my position. Someone kicked me to the curb. And sometimes that can happen with a job. That may not be up for all of you. I'm not saying everybody's getting fired, everyone's losing their job. But that can be for some of you. So I do want to say that. I think that when we're going into this next stage in your career, we have this feeling of like, okay, my salary's been capped. I've got to move on and transform and go into this different space. I think that the money story starts with a period of discomfort, marks the end of a chapter, and then we recalculate and then shift towards a new financial expectation or outcome. You have to find a way to explore different contracts, bonuses. This is not the easy route, right? You've got to find your way back to the main road. And this is what we're seeing when it comes to the financial situation. You may have to, I think you have to get whatever job or position you're in, I think you got to get out of that one. But you've got to market your value to other people. And I'm not going to lie, not everyone's going to see it. And they're not going to see it right away. And you've got to figure out a way how to show them. Then we'll get to this place where we have this good financial pivot. Because like I said, the fives do rule change. And so eventually you will get to this space. And when we talk about the Death card reverse, you know, what it reminds me of is the fact that it reminds me of almost like a retrograde planet going into the 8th house. And what I mean by that is usually when planets go retrograde in the 8th house, sign of Scorpio, all of that jazz, and it's more so like I have to know what is valuable to other people so that other people will support me, or to get me the finances that I need to get, you know, it can represent like, okay, I'm going through training, people are looking for somebody trained in this thing, and so now I have this skill set, and boom, now people find me more valuable. This is the thing I'm talking about here with the next stage in your career. So just want to throw that, all right? This is as clear as I can get about the money situation. This can also be about reframing financial success as well, and reframing what it looks like to be someone who is independent. Because this Death card, in a way, and the Chariot reverse, both of these can come up to represent that maybe you wanted to be somebody who could do it all, right? You're like, I can pay my own bills, I can afford all the luxuries, all the travels, and everything that I want to do. But this next stage in your career is like testing that. And it's like, wait, I don't think I can do everything I want to do right now. And what happens here is that you start reframing, you know, what does success look like, you know, and you recognize that it's okay to have a period where you step back, or it's okay to lean on other people. It's okay to go through a transition time, and you have to look at what success feels like for you. And then for some people, maybe the success was driven by more financial means and more accolades and more recognition. But then now it's like, I don't even know if that means anything to me. If I'm being recognized by an environment or a group of people who I don't respect. You know, like annual reviews come around and they're saying, all right, you need to improve on this area and this area and this area. And you're just like, I don't even care about this job, nor do I care about your opinion and how you think I'm good at it or not good at it. Right? That's something that's kind of going on here. We have this salary ceiling where sometimes companies might do like a flat raise. They're like, oh, after a certain period of time, you get like, you know, this little bit of money or something like that. Also, you can get to this place where you have to pause on discretionary income, or even just investments, or you're having to rely on that credit card. So this is what I want to say. I don't want to like give you guys be the bearer of bad news, but I just want you to know that this is temporary. I want you to know that this is temporary, okay? So this next stage is a temporary stage where you're transforming and you're learning some hard lessons about the limitations of your environment and what is important for you within a work environment and what is important for you for a job, what you need from your career, your goals, or whatever the case in life, to feel successful, to feel satisfied. These are these moments that are happening here. So I do want you to know this is a lot of learning going on here, but just know that it's not here forever. Ten of Swords, you know, the cards are saying you're pretty much at that stage in your life where you're transitioning out of the chaos, okay? A little bit slow, but you're transitioning out of it. So I do want to know you are going in the right direction, or you will soon be going in the right direction. Now, if I look at these cards here, and I know what's next is definitely some workplace drama. But before I move on, I want to roll the Astro dice. Okay, we have the 6th house with Jupiter and Gemini. So, as I was saying, there's some workplace drama, for sure. It's actually interesting because 6th house is the house of, like, enemies, right? It's the house of competition. And I love that you got this 5 card here. Well, I don't love it, but you know what I mean? Like, you got this 5 card here, which pretty much aligns with the story of, you know, it's a dog-eat-dog world here. You know, you have a lot of jealousy, you have a lot of bickering, you have a lot of people who feel threatened by you, who feel like they see you as competition. And this can even be people in leadership too, you know? And I think that it's kind of showing this next stage in your career. It's a little bit gearing up for like a fight and to hold your position until you make this exit. And you hit this breaking point and you move on. But like I said, it takes a minute to land that role. And that's because when we have Jupiter going through the 6th house, the competition is fierce. What I have seen when people have Jupiter in their 6th house, especially when it's come to like transiting, what happens here is that there actually are a lot of people who are applying for the same roles, which makes sense why this transition out of this environment is a little slow. If you have a job, or even just if you have a business, there's a lot of people vying for the same clients as you. And so it makes sense that things are like slow to pick up. And what we see here is that you have to find a way to learn, grow, transform, and stand out somehow when it comes to things. Generally, Jupiterian energy is going to be more networking. But I'll say this, because I'm looking at these cards here, you're going to have to be very strategic about who you network with. Because like I said, the cards are really emphasizing the competition. They're really emphasizing the, I'm going to cut you down and I'm going to make sure that I get mine and I don't want you to win. And, you know, like that type of energy going out here, this next stage of your career. And that's what I see clear and, you know, clear as day, you know. But good thing about this, Jupiter in the 6th house does bring opportunities for work. It's very much like right time, right opportunity, and it will provide you a job or a transition job to get you to that next stage so that you can go in the right direction, so that you can be really aligned, right? You're having more opportunities for growth, but at the same time, a lot of other people are having that same energy. Okay, not same energy, but they're having that same mindset of they want to get to this top place. They want to be top dog. They want to be queen supreme, you know? And so it feels like this time you're protecting your professional narrative. You are applying like crazy. You're trying to move on. You're trying to look for new businesses. You're trying to gain more skills. You're trying to market yourself. Like, you might be looking for somebody to professionally redo your resume. You might be looking for a career coach. You might be looking to see what leverage you might have so that you can negotiate stronger contracts for people. You are trying to keep things professional with your interactions and let your reputation speak for themselves. But let me tell you, that 6th house Jupiterian energy, it's very much like, I don't know how to say this, but especially in Gemini, because Jupiter's weak in Gemini, it's very much like it's that Five of Swords energy. It's very much like people they don't value you. They recognize you, that you have things to offer, but they don't care. You know, they're like, it's this feeling of like, you are my competitor and I'm trying to crush you. So I really do feel like this is you having to be strategic, do your career moves, staying socially alert. These are things that are happening, and I wish I had something else that I could say. But positive things is, this is not here to last. Like I said, Jupiter in the 6th house does show that a new job is coming in. I do feel like this is more of a transition job. One thing that this can be good for is that it can give you a little bit of relief when it comes to some financial burdens. It does ultimately give an opportunity, but it can be more of a transitional opportunity. As I mentioned, it's also going to cause you to up-level your skills, because Jupiter in Gemini is about an increase in skill set. And you might even find an area that you are passionate into. And interesting that we have this Death card, because sometimes this is like I'm bringing something back to life, right? And when I think about that, sometimes you could be just bringing back some sort of passion to life, right? Or you are tackling some sort of unfinished project or goal that you had, and you go back and you look at it and say, you know what, let me get this off the ground again. One thing you are learning is you're learning how to protect your time and energy. You're definitely saying no. I know without a doubt, you're never going back to an environment like this again. You are definitely not relying on praise and validation. Chariot reversed is like, I don't need your compliment. I'm confident. And then we also have like doing your best to remain composed under pressure, for sure, going on here. But you know, you got to get out of here. This next stage in your career, you're fighting to get out, and you are making strides to move in that direction, and you're learning a lot. And don't get me wrong, it may take a little time, but there is a silver lining. There is a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. There is you gaining more confidence. There is you learning how to deal with these ridiculous people. You'll be choosing better contracts and better roles, and recognizing those red flags early, and getting yourself out of high stakes situations and moving forward. And honestly, you'll see who's truly supportive and who's truly not. So that is what I have for you, pile number 4, and I will see you next time. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to get a private reading from me. In the private readings, I like to go in depth. You know, I might add some things like reading through the numbers here. You know, for example, we have 2 10s, or we have a 5, and a 10, and that would connect to excuse me, the Judgment card here. When we're talking about having a new start, feeling refreshed, making sure that you are leaving everything behind, which is pretty much the energy of what we were going for in a way. You know, we have that energy as without the reading, which is what I said, that you've just got to let bygones be bygones, and you're slowly transiting out of that. And then we also, what's interesting here is we have the 7 and we have 13 again. So we also have Judgment reversed. And when we have Judgment reversed and Judgment upright, it's like you're learning some of the lessons, but then some things you kind of have to relearn again, especially when we talk about Judgment reverse. Maybe there is an element of, okay, I can let certain things go, but then I can't let other things go. Or maybe you feel as though, all right, I feel renewed in one area, and I feel like I can just drop this and move on, but then other things, it feels as if I am running into a certain cycle when it comes to this, right? And that can deal with, all right, maybe I found myself a new role, a new team, but I keep being, I'm stagnant in this cycle when it comes to the pay not being what I want, right? So making slowly transformations, but then other things are not keeping up with this new dawn, new day feel. That's what we'll go into with my private readings, this feeling of maybe no longer caring about the praise, but then you still might accept roles that don't have that strong growth path. So that is where I'm going to end it, and I will see you next time, pal number 4. And don't forget, for becoming a member, join the lives, and I would love to see you next time. Au revoir. Hey, pal number 5. Let's get on to what's happening next in your career. We have Snow Day. Ooh. We have the 10 of Pentacles. Love to see it. We have the Novice of Raindrops play. We have the 4 of Raindrops, and that is Contemplation. We have the Strength card, and we have the Page of Wands reversed. So what's happening next in your career, pal number 5? First thing I think of when I think of Snow Day, I think of taking it easy, take a break, like put your feet up, you know. Maybe you're going on a sabbatical. Maybe you go on disability leave. Maybe you go on FMLA, whatever. Or maybe you just take some time off to yourself. Or maybe, like, you know, sometimes work environments, like this happened to plenty of people, where they get an opportunity to sort of like work from home. Whether that is just the way the company decides to shift things, or they just decide to give you that opportunity, or maybe there's something that goes on with their main building and they're just like, oh, pipe is broke and the place is flooded and we've got to, everyone has to work from home. But whatever the case may be, the Snow Day energy is like taking time for a break within your career. It's not the same old grind. And we definitely have a grind card here. Snow Day is a time for pause. It's a time off. It is a slowdown. It's deadlines pushed. It's expectations softened. It's performance metrics that are lifted. It is people who, you know, it's a snow day. People are slow during snow days. They aren't usually as hardened. They're like stiff, or they have them. They enjoy themselves. They have some non-work related activities, and so I feel like this next phase or next stage in your career, there's some non-related activities going on here, right? You're doing some things where you are relaxing. You're resisting the the urge to overwork. And then sometimes, like, you have people who, when work ends, it doesn't end. So they're checking their emails off hours or on the weekends. And when we talk about Snow Day, it's like you pull back from doing that. You're like, oh, I'm not going to do this ish anymore. Like, I'm no longer caught up in trying to maintain this image or this performance metric that you guys had for me. I'm doing things different, right? That's what's going on when we talk about this low stakes environment. And I love this too, because when we're looking at what you have here, this 10 of Pentacles, this Novice of Raindrops, which is basically like the Page of Cups, it's kind of showing to me that you are in this headspace where you feel secure, you feel like you have accomplished a lot, you feel like you have made it, you're in a good environment, maybe the pay is solid, maybe you have the position that you want, maybe you just have a great team, maybe you just like it there at the company, and if you feel it aligns with your values, you feel it aligns with your cultures, you think the people are friendly, and honestly, if this is what's going on for you, you're really lucky, because not everyone has that opportunity. But this is showing that, or maybe it's just what's happening next, or you're transitioning to that, and that happens. I'll say this. Sometimes I get the 10 of Pentacles to represent something is coming to a close, which makes sense. It's a 10, right? And so it's like I have gotten to this place in my career where I have done X, Y, and Z goal in my life. I have gotten this dream job that I've wanted. I have started this business that I wanted. I got investors and backers that I needed. I have reached these sales goals, or I have gotten this role, this title. I've made it onto this team. I've gotten onto this project. You know, all of these things happen. I've made it into the inner circle. You know, sometimes it's social goals within the work environment. And now you're like, all right, enough of that. It's time for me to do something a little different. It's time for me to step back. It's time for me to try something new. But the energy is interesting here, because all of this energy is very much less work, more play. So it's actually, fun seeing these cards here, because I think out of all the pals, you guys, your next stage in your career is just vibing. Like, you want to step back from the work environment. You want to step back from working so hard. You have earned your accolade. You have earned your applause. You have built some sort of stability for yourself. And if you don't feel like that, the cards are saying that's not true. You have a lot to offer. You have put in the work, and you are somebody who has a lot of value. They don't believe that anything else. So I just want to say that this next stage in your career is more so about you deciding that maybe you need a vacation, because I generally get the Four of Raindrops, which is basically the Four of Cups. The Four of Cups, I get it quite often for be someone on vacation. Literally, I've tried to contact people, and I'm like, why isn't this person responding to me? And then I'll pull a Four of Cups, and then they'll come back and message me and say, hey, I'm on vacation right now. It has happened plenty of times, right? For me, personally, I've seen it. And it's this feeling, you have snow day, you have vacation, you have play. You guys, you guys are just like, I've done the work. I've deserved this rest. I deserve this break. I mean, honestly, it's not even really about deserve it. You need it. You want it. You desire it. You should get it. You know? You're prioritizing quality in your life. You're like, I'm no longer building. I'm no longer in this place where I have to push and keep going and striving. And I've reached this point where I can finally appreciate what I have and more. I can take care of not only myself, but those around me, because we have this 10 of Pentacles. I have accumulated so much within my life. I think it's time for me to recalculate and explore some hobbies, or explore some creative ideas, or, you know, maybe even look at a different culture, or just like, it's like the next stage in your career is getting a return investment on your time. You're like, I get to actually be free and live life. And I've noticed that with certain people, and this is not a judgment. I just want to be clear. This is just observation, because some people can be very sensitive. I've noticed that with certain people, where in their youth, they build up their career, and because they're spending a lot of energy building up their career, they actually don't spend a lot of time getting to know themselves outside of the job or a role. They kind of get into this headspace where they're like, all right, we're going to go for brunch on the weekends, or we're going to go and we are, I don't know, we'll go to the movies, or we'll go to a bar, and it's kind of like this thing that they do all the time. And they don't necessarily have time to, or maybe they never thought to put in the effort to actually explore different things. Like, well, I've never learned how to play chess, so let me go learn how to play chess. Or I've never really tried pickleball, so let me really try pickleball, right? So they don't have this inherent understanding of themselves and what they like to do, especially when it comes to fun, you know, especially when it comes to sitting back and declining. They're just like, wow, what is my life when it's not on fire mode? What happens when I no longer just have the weekend to restore myself, and I actually give myself space during the week to relax? How does it feel to not be as busy? And so this next stage, you get to know your tastes, you get to know your hobbies, you get to know your preferences, you get to enjoy your life, you get to go see more live music, you get to travel at odd times, you get these beautiful short trips and freedom weekends, and you enjoy art and museums, and you learn a language, and you try cooking, and you know, there is like this reclaiming of the things that you didn't get to explore maybe within your youth, or even maybe you did explore them, but you had to like put them to the wayside or something like that, because we do have that Page of Wands reverse, and the Page of Wands reverse can often represent that you are revisiting something that brought you a lot of excitement and joy there. But also, the Page of Wands reverse can also represent that you don't want to take initiative, you don't want to take action, which can also lead back to this feeling of recline, right? Where you're just like, I don't want to work. I don't want to do this anymore. Like, I'm tired. You know, I know who I am professionally. I want to see what I look like outside of work. And that's perfectly okay. You're no longer introducing yourself by your achievements or the sense of status. And you are saying, hey, my name is Brandy, and you know what? I like tarot and astrology, and it's fun. And sometimes I will pick a random class to go crafting. You know, I've done pottery, and I have done candle making, and I want to do bag making, and that's interesting to me. These are the things that you're like learning about yourself. And so I know maybe that sounds boring, or maybe that's not what you're looking to hear, but it is a period of recline. If we're talking about what's happening financially, obviously when we get the Ten of Pentacles, that's a lot of stability, that's a lot of security, that's pretty much, you know, getting it in the bag. Like, for example, today I like to do or I've done this before, but I never really sat down and wrote everything down. It was more of a thought exercise where I look at what is my ideal spending, or what is my ideal lifestyle spending, etc. And then based upon that, I try to figure out, okay, what do I need salary-wise to just live comfortably, not just, you know, lavish lifestyle, whatever the case may be, just a comfortable living situation. And I come up with a number, right? Well, the Ten of Pentacles is like saying, I've reached that number. I've reached that number that I have thought about, that I've manifested within my head, that I put on my vision board, and boom, shakalaka. I don't know how I said boom shakalaka, but it's there. It's in front of you, and you've gotten it. And so this next stage is hitting that financial pinnacle. It's hitting that financial goal and being happy about it, for sure. But I will say this. When we talk about this Four of Raindrops, contemplation, and the Strength card, it can be a little bit hard to get used to sometimes, because it may feel like you're used to looking to the next thing. You're used to looking for that next accolade or accomplishment, and now it's like, now what? You know, I'm not sure what to do, because I feel like I've hit X, Y, and Z goal of getting this promotion, or getting this job, or opening up this business and making, I don't know, $500,000 in sales, and I've decided to open up a side shop, and I don't know, maybe I make an extra 30K a year or something like that. Whatever, you hit some goal that you've already hit, and now you're like, well, now that I've done that, what do I do next? You know? But I will say this, money does stop being like a daily concern. Not that I'm saying it was, you know, if it was, it's not concerning anymore. Ten of Pentacles feels safe, sound, secure, like this will always be there and everything's perfectly fine. This also can represent that you are turning down opportunities that you're just feeling not excited about, because you aren't looking for that next paycheck. You want something that actually feels fulfilling. And then also what we have here is that you are being driven by, I don't know, you just got to be interested in it. You feel like, I want something that's going to light me up a little bit. You know, I want to bring this energy of play into not only my personal life, but into my work environment. I want to feel like I'm doing something that feels good, that makes me happy. So Strength card is interesting, because I almost feel like this next stage in your career, it feels like you are staying within this environment that you're currently in, and you're making strides, and you're going forward, and you're building momentum, and the wealth is building, the leadership goals are building, you get the accolades, you get the applause, and so you decide to stay there for a bit, and you're wondering, or you're waiting for an opportunity to hit you that makes you feel a little bit more alive, that feels a little bit more exciting. Because the Strength card is like, all right, I'm enduring this, I'm waiting through this, I'm, you know, pushing through. And like I said, it's not necessarily like anything's wrong. It's just that it's the same old, and you don't need this anymore. You're over it, you know? It's like, how many cups do I need? This is the 4th cup. I'm good. So that's kind of like the mindset that you have. You know, you're like, this is sufficient, but I need it used to be sufficient, but I need more. That's what I'm seeing here when it comes to that. But for sure, you are being looked at as somebody who has very accomplished. Ten of Pentacles is generally going to give a reputation of either somebody well educated. You know, I have gotten a degree. I have passed a certification. I have gotten a promotion and got this certain title. I have had a successful project and everyone's looking at me like, good job, right? These are the things that happen. But you don't want to feel complacent. You don't want to feel stuck. And this Page of Wands reverse is you trying to honestly figure out your next action plan, your next initiation. Like, what are you going to do next to give yourself a little bump, you know, to escape mundaneness. But you really do have a strong reputation, and I really do feel as though this is you giving up and not wanting to manufacture enthusiasm until something hits for you. And you know, I think when we talk about the Page of Wands reverse, it's, if I look at it, it can be this card that is impulsive and adventurous and bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, magnificent energy, right? When it's reversed, like I said, there's this feeling of that fire's been dimmed, or they feel a little bit shy, or even they feel as though like they've got to do something that throws a wrench in normalcy. You know, that's the kind of feel to it, and they're trying to figure it out. They're trying to figure out what they can do to spice up the routine. They don't know it yet, but they're thinking about it. They need that stimulation that they know it's missing, and they're ready for it. When we talk about like anything having to do with a workload increase or anything like that, or if there is a new title, new offer, for sure there's opportunities for new titles. With the Strength card here connecting to Leo, this is why I said there could also be educational opportunities coming in, or training coming in for you. Or maybe you're training other people, just because we have the Ten of Pentacles, and Ten of Pentacles could be like boss energy. This, for some of you, can definitely represent that you're finding a job where it aligns with your morals, or your culture, or your values. That's possible if you're not already in there, or already not interviewing for it. And also, I do feel as though, let's say in your place you're looking for a job, you'll secure it. You will secure it, and it will provide you a little bit more of a relaxing environment, especially if you're coming from a place of drama or whatever the case may be. But I think the social aspect of the job, it's not like that it's bad, it's just that it's not exactly what you're looking for. And I'm, like I said, it's more so like you recognize you're going to have to get your kicks and thrills at work. Sometimes people go to work and they go to work because they can meet people and they like to socialize and they have fun and they love it there. And this is kind of saying that you don't have that social aspect. Don't get me wrong, the company still has a lot of ethics and values that you align with, and you're like, oh, this is great. They're a green company. I am very eco-friendly. I practice that within my life, so I enjoy this. And that aligns with you. But then, you know, the people you work with, you're like, I don't know if I click with them this much. They're very friendly, they're very kind, they're very sweet, but I don't know if I can't make friends in this environment like I want to. Let's pull out the Astro dice. I feel like I had a lot to say about you guys, and I kind of almost forgot about the Astro dice. We have Pluto in the 4th house and Sagittarius. Ooh, what did I talk about? That motivation, that inspiration needing to come alive, because Pluto is all about renewal, transformation, and a big shift and change, right? That is what we talk about when we talk about true Pluto. We need to go through the fire and come out and be raised from the ashes when we're talking about this energy. And so when we're looking at that in terms of Sagittarius, Number one, this can feel as though, like I said, the momentum, the motivation, it needs to be transformed. Like it's dormant. You need to feel this get up and go. The sign of Sagittarius is right before the 10th house. 10th house is your goals. Sagittarius is what motivates you to achieve those goals. And so when we're talking about Pluto being strictly just Pluto and Sagittarius in general, it's just like the motivation to achieve those goals is changing. Your motivation's changing, your enthusiasm's changing, your perspective is changing. You're reframing things. You are trying to be open to transformation and saying yes to things that are different than before, right? Not the same old cups, different cups. But then we also have, with Pluto being in the 4th house, so if we look at Pluto just strictly in the 4th house, this is interesting because it kind of goes back to what we were talking about in the beginning, that snow day, right? This feeling of, okay, I'm changing my personal life, my inner environment, my home, my private world. It's shifting, and it's shifting because of my career. It's being affected through this next stage in my life. And I think that you're finding more inspiration and excitement within your home. You are loving the time to yourself. And I'm not saying you're just only spending time to yourself. There's definitely some socialization going on there. But it just feels as if you are entering a new wave when it comes to how you are approaching your inner world. Also, the 4th house has to do with your emotions, right? And when I think about Pluto in Sagittarius in the 4th house, I think about huge emotions concerning exploration, right? Because Sagittarius is that sign where we want to see different cultures. We want to see different people. We want to break away from old generational patterns. If you've always lived in the same place, this is you contemplating, maybe I should move. Maybe I should get a job somewhere else and it'll cause me to move. And there's something that we could think about, especially when we're talking about Sagittarius and Pluto in the 4th house. You might be contemplating making, like, the next stage in your career, a career leap to a new city or a new, place. And maybe you move to the place first, or maybe you get the job first. I don't know. It might be different for everyone here. But it's definitely saying that you are transforming your home environment and it is related to your career. And that Sagittarius is a travel card, guys. It is exploration. It is something new. It is different cultures. It is different environments. So I want you to know that. Like, all right? And then also, sometimes this can represent that you are unveiling and, what's the word for it? You're addressing any childhood trauma, because a lot of times people who have Pluto in the 4th house, they have this childhood that can be a little heavy. And thus, when we think about Pluto in the 4th house, it's like you tap into your inner world and address anything that needs to be addressed, essentially, which is probably why we have this feeling of contemplation here. It doesn't necessarily have to be this horrendous moment. Sometimes you just gotta talk to someone and talk things through and, say, okay, these are the emotions I have, these are my triggers, this is my past. Now that you have this moment to be very inward focus, you take it, you seize it, which is it happens a lot to just even people natally who have Pluto in the 4th house here. They almost become like little hermits. I don't particularly see the full-blown hermit vibe for you, but I do see more moments of contemplation and going within yourself and reflecting on your experiences. And, I think maybe more time with family. 10 of Pentacles definitely comes up for family. And it's actually interesting because I get the 10 of Pentacles to represent like a lot more. If you look at the difference between 10 of Cups, 10 of Pentacles, 10 of Pentacles I get more for like generations of family within the same whole household, or not, well, they don't have to be in the same household, but within the same space. Versus 10 of Cups, it's like family's coming through, maybe you get a cousin, maybe you get an aunt, they're passing by, maybe you get an uncle there. But the 10 of Pentacles is just like a family reunion. It's the physical bodies coming together. Like they're all here, you know. So I get that a lot for it. And so more spending time with your family, or even just within your home space. Okay. So that is what I have with the next space, a next stage within your career. I do want to say when we have this strength card, this is actually great because it shows that you are making some short-term sacrifices so that you could benefit in the long run, whether that be being very disciplined in a certain area. It's like, okay, I am going to take the time to study this industry, and maybe I decide to not watch a movie tonight. Granted, I do think you're going to be having a lot of fun, but you're like, all right, some nights I'm going to not watch a movie. I'm going to research this certain industry, and I'm going to figure out if I want to leap in that direction. I'm just giving an example. And this might not even be the case for you, but this is what I mean by the sacrifice when you talk about the strength card and this Leo energy as well. But it's generally very, it's sociable, to be honest. I don't know what else to say. It's a very sociable card. It's generally high energy. It wants to talk to people. It has a lot of compassion. But it just generally represents having mastery over those primal instincts. And so you're really addressing any triggers, any compulsions, any behaviors that have been, what do you call it? Like you're shooting yourself in the foot. And that's something you're doing within your career. You're like, all right, well, let me figure out the places I'm shooting myself in the foot when it comes to my career, because there's always room for improvement. And I think that also plays into this Page of Wands energy where you're like, all right, maybe I can communicate a little bit better, right? I'm just giving an example. That might not even be your case, right? Maybe you're like, I'm too direct. That's my issue. But there's also other people who are just like, maybe I rush through things. Maybe I don't read all my emails and I need to be more detail oriented. And you know, you look at these things and you try to improve them. That's what's happening. But that's what I have for you, pal, number 5. You guys are pretty chill. Like there's a lot of good things coming in for you financially, accolades, doing well when it comes to like your inner strength, your inner power, learning more about yourself and your passions and what excites you, and being very disciplined about it too, and being strict about those boundaries and saying like, nope, phone is off, work is done, I'm not doing it, I don't care. But if you want a private reading from me, link can be found in the description bar below. I go into the details about, you know, I'll use numerology. Sometimes I will walk you guys through, and you know, I like to read backwards and forward to see where we come from. Like I can see this 10 of Pentacles comes from the place of 9 of Pentacles, so I know that you guys have been in this space where you have understood what it's like to enjoy yourself, to have fun, to accomplish your goals, but now you have much more. Like you have a lot going for you, that and more. And now it's like, oh, I want to build this community, I want to build this tribe here. You know, it's different. It's different when I'm just doing my own thing. I want to find my permanent forever career home, and that's what I'm looking for. So if you want a private reading where I go into more details and use numerology and go back and forth with the cards and then read all the details, and yeah, then come on in. Come on and get a reading. And also I go live on the weekends, and I'll see you next time. Au revoir.